want to say good day, good evening, whatever it is, wherever you at. We got a very important guest on today. And one of the things that I'm pushing is that letting the world know that men ain't got no problem with women that God has dictated or allowed to be in charge of leadership. It's that old saying, if you want to get it right, let a woman take charge. And I want to say this. I'm Wallace Gator Bradley. I'm the host of the Bradley Report. I'm also the president of United Peace Inc. But this show was brought together by the chairman of United Peace Inc. She's also the producer of the show. She helped me get the right topics to make everybody listen, look, listen, and learn. None other than my wife, Terry Marsh Bradley. And with that, I want to say to God be the glory. And I want to let all of y'all know, especially the voters in Cook County, that made a decision that after they saw that this woman has proven that she's accountable, and it was easy for us to realize that she was also electable. And that is none other than the Cook County State's Attorney, Kim Foxx. Kim Foxx, I want you to share with, and so much happening with you. I mean, and I want to thank Julie and Brother Bernard, your outreach person. Um, every time I was trying to find the topic that we were going to discuss on, you had already let it be known that you're going to continue what you do. And I say, hooray, hooray, hooray. So come on, Kim. Let us know what you have done, what your plan is, and then we get into, like we normally do, the
Yeah.
conversation for the betterment of the people of Cook County.
Well, first of all, Gator, thank you so much for having me back, and I want to thank you especially for riding with me in this last election and riding hard because you believe in the work that I'm trying to do and your partnership over the last 4 years on addressing a lot of these concerns. And I want to thank you for always letting me have a space on the Bradley Report to talk to your viewers who have so much faith and trust in your leadership that when you vouch for me, that they vouch for me at the polls. So I just want to first and foremost say thank you. Thank you to the chairman for her support as well, because I wouldn't be here without the support of the community, and your voice in the community is just so important.
All right.
And, I want to say this week has been a tough week in the city of Chicago and Cook County. Many of us saw the horrible video related to Anjanette Young, who was the subject of a botched police raid. And for many of us who do this work, it is a reminder of the work that we have to continue to build back trust with the communities that we serve. On Tuesday, we continued along the work that we've been doing before, where we vacated six more convictions of men who were wrongfully convicted as a result of Sergeant Watts and his
Right.
command over in the Ida B. Wells housing project. Those latest six convictions that we vacated marks 100 cases related to Sergeant Watts that we vacated.
Wow. To
And an
God be the
estimated
glory.
almost 250 plus years that these men and women spent time in prison for crimes that we could not uphold. And so, while I know that the tensions are high about the state of the justice system, I think we should take comfort in knowing, that you've elected people who, however difficult it might be, how many people might come at me, that I'm committed to this work. And so, the last 4 years has been building up our conviction integrity unit. I know work that you are intimately familiar with,
Right.
and that's going to continue. We're going to, because there's too much, sadly, work for us left to do on this in this space.
Right.
So we're
You,
going to continue to vacate wrongful convictions
you
and
know,
right
Kim,
the of the past.
could you explain to our viewing audience, because you
Mhm.
on the show, the integrity unit, what it is, how individuals can do
Yeah,
what's legal and ethically right? Could you give them what the protocol is for
sure.
them to be able to present something to the integrity unit?
Of course. So the Conviction Integrity Unit is a unit within the state's attorney's office that reviews past convictions for claims of actual innocence. So these aren't claims where maybe there's a technical violation or something related to, you were convicted, but you had something else, or, a bad lawyer or what have you. Your claim must be, I did not do this. I'm
Mm-hmm.
actually innocent of this. And we have an application on our website, cookcountystatesattorney.org, where you can download it and fill it out of, your name, when you got the conviction, and just some background information. And we'll have someone within our office do intake, reach out to you, set up a time where we can talk to you. Then we have lawyers and investigators who will meet with you. If you have any additional evidence or people that you need us to speak to, we'll speak to them and start building and looking at these cases to see if, in fact, we can prove that this isn't a case that should have been brought or a conviction should have been sought. And like I said, the one sticking point is that this is not a case where we have our what we call post conviction unit, where someone has been convicted of a crime and they're fighting that conviction again based on legal technical issues. These are cases where this is about my actual innocence.
Mm-hmm.
And so far we have, I believe, 109 cases total that have been vacated in the conviction integrity.
Wow. Thank you. You know, Kim, something else, because I tell the people all the time, the state's attorneys, the assistant state's attorneys, even during the bond hearings and everything else, they can only present what they feel when the individual should not be on bond because of the crime that they allegedly have committed. And it's always up to the judges that makes the determination if an individual should be out on bond. And the reason that I'm saying that, uh, not just about what has happened in my life, but with what happened with the firemen that got carjacked and got killed. And I was reading the newspaper, and there's a lot of other cases where uh, the judges has freed individuals that they knew were carjacked, were alleged carjackers, and they end up getting caught again. And the first thing people scream, well, Kim Foxx is the reason that they're out. Could you explain to them what your job is? You're not the police, you're not the judge nor the jury.
That's right. But yeah, let's take it back. Police make arrests. So if something happens in the county, some criminal activity, somebody steals a car, someone breaks into a store, it's up to the police to identify and bring those people to us and arrest them. So we don't make arrests. When they bring those folks to us, the state attorney's office makes a determination: is there enough evidence to take this person to trial, right? We don't automatically find them guilty. Our job is, can we take them to trial to present before a judge whether they're guilty or not? So we approve charges. Once charges are approved, we go before a judge for what's called a bail hearing. Now, bail is basically is the monetary amount that's supposed to ensure that you come back to court.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people get confused about what that means. People are still presumed innocent until they are proven guilty by a judge. So just because someone is charged by my office, it does not mean that they have been guilty of the crime. And so a judge makes a determination based on the allegations about how much bail someone should get or if they should get bail at all. And the Constitution of the United States, not a Kim Foxx policy, not a Judge Evans policy, says that you shall not impose excessive bail.
Mm-hmm.
And so judges have to make a determination. If you're a threat to the public, if you someone that like has killed someone, hurt someone, a judge can say, you know what, there's no amount of money you can pay to get out. I'm not going to give you a bail at all and can hold you. Only a judge can do that.
Mm-hmm.
A judge can also say, you know what, you've committed a serious offense. I'm going to give you a bail amount to pay, but it has to be affordable. A judge makes that determination. So people then have a right to be able to post money to await their day at home.
Right.
Now, I think where a lot of people get confused is that they think bail is a punishment, or they think that pretrial detention is a punishment. The punishment only comes after you've been found guilty of a crime. So just because someone is arrested doesn't mean that if they go to jail waiting their sentence that they have been found guilty. It just means that they have not yet posted bond or they've not yet been granted a release until their trial date. And so I hear a lot of folks saying, well, these people aren't being held accountable because they're not held in jail. Jail is pre-trial detention, not punishment. Does that make sense?
Right. Yes, it does. And I know this to be true because I'm now a part of, I guess you would say, survivors, victims, family members of victims, and that type of thing. So I became more of an advocate for victims and families of victims that have been harmed or shot or killed or whatever. But one of the things that I love about what you have, because I'm in it, I'm sitting from both sides of the table, really four sides. As someone that was once a defendant, then got a pardon. As someone that advocates for individuals that's wrongfully convicted to be freed, and at the same time working along with Brother Andrew um, to get individuals that have committed, allegedly committed, their names may be ringing, of being involved in senseless violence to the point that innocent individuals have been shot or killed for them to turn themselves in. You follow what I'm saying?
Mhm.
One of the things that's wonderful about all that, and that's God's graces, I've got a pardon and everything else, is that you learn, you as in me, learn to listen more
Mhm.
and criticize less. You know what I mean? And when I go there, I'm saying, okay, the defendants, their lawyers ask for a discovery, and the assistant state's attorneys or the state's attorney's office give them their discovery, just the evidence that we have saying that you did this. And then what a lot of the family members of the victims don't realize that the state's attorneys have a right to submit a discovery to the defendant's lawyers. Am I correct? You know how the state's attorney might want to send them uh,
Like
uh,
interrogatories, ask questions, yes.
yes, find out, okay, what witnesses are you bringing before or what is happening. And how can the family members, or is there a law that says where the family members can find out as much information how their case are being handled as the defendants?
Yes. That's a
Okay.
great question. So Illinois has a victim's bill of rights, which means that victims of crime have certain rights that must be adhered to by prosecutors and judges.
Okay.
And one of those is to be notified of every court date that is going on. So from the moment that we have a case that comes in, we have a unit in our office called our Victim Witness Services Unit. And these are men and women whose sole job is to make sure that any victim or witness on a crime that our office is prosecuted is communicated with about their case on a regular basis. They offer them services, for a lot of victims of violent crime, many of them need, help. And
Hmm.
that help can be help related to grief or trauma. A lot of our folks have issues, around housing or food. And so our victim services unit wants to make sure that as someone's case proceeds through the courthouse, that their needs are met. And so they can refer them to service agencies. They can refer them to ways that they can get funds from other agencies to help them with their needs. And importantly, inform them of every court date. When a hearing is about to go to trial, they will have them meet with the lawyer. The lawyer will go over the evidence that we have. If there's a possibility that someone might plead guilty, We can't take a plea until we work that out with the victim, that the victim knows what we're
Right,
offering.
right,
We may not always agree. And ultimately, the lawyer makes the determination of what that will be, but they can't even do that without talking to the victim. So victims have rights under Illinois law that
okay,
must be adhered to, not the least of which is that we have to tell them about every court date, and they have a right to be present at every court date.
right, okay. Now, I'm glad that you made that point. All right. So, with the Zoom thing that's happening now,
Mhm.
uh, would they have a right? They can't say nothing. They would they have a right to listen to
Yes.
what happened to like the defendants?
That's right. Even though they can't speak, they have a right to be given again. If it's even if it's status dates. I mean, the truth is, we're not doing trials right now,
Right,
um, at all. It is very rare. Actually, it's just not happening because of COVID. You know,
right,
defendants have a right to what we call confront witnesses, so be present with witnesses while they're testifying. And because we can't confront folks because of COVID, there aren't any trials that are happening.
right,
But if there is a status date, they should be alerted of the status date and they can listen in on the Zoom.
right,
Aren't there are not any trials happening right
right. Okay, okay. But the status they can listen in to. Okay, that's
now?
good.
Yes.
Now, brothers, James Brown once said it's a man's world, but he said it wouldn't be nothing without the love of a little girl. So with that, I want to say, Kim, you know, I read about your staff that you coming in, you made changes. Could you share that with our viewing audience? The changes that you have made, where they were before and where they are now? Because in the world of Zoom and in what everybody wants is transparency. That's what I love about this Passover. You know, they call it the pandemic. And the Zoom world, it helps with transparency. So, viewing audience, Kim gonna let you know what's happening with her style, the people that she has brought in, and why she brought them in. So, Kim, could you let them know? Cause I know, you know what I mean. So, could you let the
Yeah.
viewing audience know?
And like you quoting James Brown, we have a staff that is our executive team that is largely made up of women, and for the first time in the history of the office, these three new roles are all held by women at the same time, which is something that hasn't been heard of. So my first assistant, her name is Jennifer Coleman. The first assistant is basically my right hand person. They
Mm-hmm.
manage the day-to-day operations of the state's attorney's office, which I have to remind people is the second largest prosecutor's office in the country. When it's fully staffed, that's 800 lawyers, about 500 administrative staff, about 1,300 people that we have to manage. And Jennifer comes to the office or comes to this role having been my chief deputy, so the second behind,
Mm-hmm.
having worked in our narcotics bureau, domestic violence bureau, just a well seasoned, well rounded attorney, been with the office for 25 years. Next, we have Risa Lanier. Risa is coming to us. She was the chief of the Criminal Prosecutions Bureau, which is a bureau that handles all of our felony criminal cases. Risa was the first African American woman appointed to that role. She was appointed by me when I first came in. And Risa has, again, an extensive career in the office, almost 20 years or about 20 years in the office. Most notably, she did one of the final trials here in Cook County before the COVID shutdown, which was the murder of Commander Bauer. And Risa
Wow.
led that trial team there. And then replacing Risa as the head of the Criminal Prosecutions Bureau is Natasha Toller, who is used to be the deputy in that bureau, African American woman, also with the office for a little over 15 years, working her way through felony review, through the trial court, just an exceptional attorney, and more importantly, one who is connected to the issues related to our community. And so I'm really proud of these women, proud of the fact our office is actually 66% women these days.
Right.
It's
That's
it's
right.
more than the majority women. But historically, even with those numbers, women were not being placed in senior leadership roles. And so for me, it was really important that these aren't just women. These are talented,
That's right.
hardworking folks who had long been ready for these roles, who've been given the opportunity to achieve.
You know, Kim, people, just my opinion, from what I'm hearing, people don't realize how many women, how many women of color are state's attorneys. Could you share that with them as well?
Yeah, so we have, like I said, our office is about 65% women. So of those 800 lawyers, a little over around 500 are women. Of that, and I have to think of our numbers of African Americans in our office, I believe we have about 90. So 90 Blacks who work in our office. And of those, I want to say 60 are Black women.
Okay.
And so it is our office is disproportionate to women and has been over time. And again, it was important to me that those numbers are reflected in our leadership. When I first came into office, even though over 60% of our office was women, only 25% of our leaders were women, which made no sense.
Right.
And I think for me, it was important because people said, well, isn't that too many women? Isn't that too many Black women on your team? And I say, it's really disappointing that when we didn't have women in these roles, when we didn't have people of color in these roles, no one was challenging
Right.
the status quo. And no one was saying, it seems odd that you have so many women and so many people of color there. You can only find one for a position of leadership. And so for me, it was, who is the best talent? Who do we got? And it so happens that these women um, were the ones, and that they are women, that they are Black women. We've had Latino women in positions of leadership throughout the office.
Right.
We want our office to be reflective of the communities we serve.
And then, still on that line, around the country, they need to know the difference around the country of women who are state's attorneys
So,
as well as women of color who are state's attorneys. Could you give them that ratio so they can understand
yeah.
the seriousness of the ceiling that y'all have not only cracked but have broke? You know what I mean? I'm saying this because this is a learning
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah, I think people take for granted, especially since I've been reelected, that this has actually been normal, right? Black women um, have not historically held these roles, but in the last several years, our numbers are growing. So, of elected state's attorneys or district attorneys, what people call them in other places, there are about 2,400 elected state's attorneys in the country. Only, oh, so 79% of them are white men. 79%. So almost 8 out of 10 elected prosecutors are white men.
Mm.
Another 15% are white women. So
Mm-hmm.
that gets you to right around 95%. Of that last 5%, 4% are men of color and 1% are women of color. So
Right.
of the 2,400, there are about 23 who are Black women in this whole country. So people know me. They know Marilyn Mosby, who is the state attorney out
Right.
of Baltimore, related to Freddie Gray.
Right.
There are people like Aramis Ayala, who's the first Black state attorney in the entire state of Florida,
Yep.
who came in at the same time I did. So it's very rare, but we're trying to increase our numbers. And again, for me, that's why it was really important to have a pipeline within our office of women who, when I'm not in this role, should they decide to run, will have the experience and the leadership to do this, because we need more women in these positions. I'm not saying that we necessarily do it better, but there's an eye that I think of being a woman for some being a mother,
Right.
that we bring a special attention to this. And again, you don't have to have been a mother, you don't have to have that experience, but there's unique experiences to being women that I think are underappreciated in this work.
Right. And with what we have just witnessed with this election, the national election,
Hmm.
and we're seeing where even the attorney general came back and said, "Hey, man, I can't go on with. I'm just paraphrasing. Hey, Trump, I'm with you, been with you, did everything, but man, we done went beyond the line." It's very important, and I'm saying this to my viewing audience. We once felt that we, the people, who get registered to vote and then don't vote, then realize the power of our vote until this election. And I want to say hooray, hooray, hooray. I want to say that everyone call their friends, their loved ones that's in Georgia to let them know we understand the pressure that y'all going under what with voting, but those in the South understand what they went through to get the right to vote, and so did we, and we got to pray for them. When you see individuals, and I'm gonna bring it back locally, because I won't never forget April 1st, and it was not an April Fool's joke. When I saw those people, the Proud Boys or whatever it is, and all them march on Washington, when I see them do what they did in Michigan, knowing that some of them were part of law enforcement, and what we witness here in the county of Cook, in the city of Chicago, across the street from City Hall, county government, when they came and they protested you. And as things would have, if times is turning and justice is coming in and people are slowing down and realizing that the importance of this democracy is more important than one's opinion or attitude or party. Voters, y'all need to know y'all play a part because y'all voices are being heard. Kim is the state's attorney again because the voters said she's the right one. Black voters, brown voters, Asian voters, gay voters, straight voters, women, men, everyone in Cook County, regardless of your race, your religion, y'all came and made the decision that she should remain state's attorney. And during the same time, you made the decision that Biden should be the president and Kamala, am I saying her name correctly? Kamala, right? Kamala Harris should be the first woman that happens to be of African American and is that Asian descent to be the vice president in order to save this democracy for everyone. So when you hear Biden saying he's going to be the president for all Americans, even though they didn't vote for him, Kim Foxx is saying the same thing. She's going to be the state's attorney for everyone in Cook County to guarantee that you get a fair prosecution, okay, based on law and the Constitution, and something else. People, when these elected officials swear under oath to uphold the Constitution, they just not swear before God. They swear to uphold the Constitution to have consequences when you disobey that oath of office. Kim, there's a lot of people that saying they didn't show, well, viewing orders, y'all heard it. If your loved ones and their attorney feel that there's a clear thing based on innocence, and there's a pattern that can show that the officers have done wrong, just like it was a pattern with Watts, just like there's a pattern with the John Burge piece or whatever it is, of showing where they have done wrong, and you can prove your innocence. Go online like she asked you to do. Fill out the paperwork about the integrity unit. Am I correct, Kim? The
Conviction Integrity Unit.
Right, Conviction Integrity Unit. Help her to help you follow the protocol so no one can question her ethics. Because those that didn't want her, even though she gonna give them fairness, we can't give them no excuse to confuse individuals to say that she's not worthy of being the state's attorney. And with that, Kim, if you got, one more thing. Everyone, she do have an outreach. And the young gentleman, I hope I ain't putting him on front. I'm giving him a shout out, Brother Bernard. I'm saying that because I've known him over the last 4 years because her office has been open to the public, inclusive of me, because at one time they had my name on the list where I couldn't even go up on that floor. And she changed that around. I got to close up with Kim. Tell them about your outreach. I read where you're going to be making decisions later on in your administration after you talk to community leaders or whatever it is. So could you share that with them, and then I got to wrap it up.
Yeah, of course. So you shout out Bernard Headley from our community engagement team, and Bernard is a wonderful member of our team whose job it is to connect with members of the community and educate them on things that we're doing, find opportunities for us to listen to the community and what their needs are. And so one of the things that we're going to be doing in the coming weeks is we're going to be reaching out to folks and asking them to talk to us in Zoom meetings like this about what they want to see in these next 4 years. What are their issues? What are their concerns? We're going to be putting together some community advisory groups around things like mental health, around things like substance use disorder, around diversion, around juvenile justice issues related to women. And so our community engagement team, Bernard is one of about 5 people on that team, will be reaching out. But if you want to reach out to us directly, please go to our website. If you want to contribute and say, hey, I want to talk about any of the issues that matter to your community, Bernard and team want to hear from you as we shape what happens in the next 4 years. I don't want this to be Kim Foxx's vision. I want this to be our vision. So we are counting on the community to be as engaged as ever so that this can be an office for all. And I'll say this lastly, we joke, but when I first came into office, I had a meeting set with you, Gator, and the people said to me, oh, he's on the list. He never is allowed on this floor. And I said, tear up the list. That
That's
office
right.
belongs to Mr. Bradley and to the people who are with him. And that's what this is a continuation of, is making sure that the people that we serve know that that office belongs to them too. And we want to lead this together.
Thank you, Kim. And with that, I want to say to God be the glory, and y'all just heard our story. Thank you. Hey, and something else. See, Kim, you at the house, and I got to get out the studio, but I got my mask. Okay? So everybody, please stay covered up, washed up, and most importantly, stay prayed up. Kim, thank you, thank you, thank you, and tell your family thank you.
Thank you, Gator.
All right.